Alright guys, today's episode is I have a 2019 Silverado, somewhat lifted, leaking oil, and the issue is the oil cooler line. So we're gonna replace the radiator and the oil cooler line. It seems like the oil cooler line busted off the radiator and spit oil everywhere. So we're gonna start with removing the air box, the fuse box assembly, these little radiator support bars, all these upper trim assembly to get to the radiator to get access to the oil cooler lines. But just giving you guys a quick little intro and try to do videos on the process of removing all this with a little help of my all data computer. But stay tuned. First things we started off with, there's plastic clips here. There's 10 of them on this front bezel. Take those 10 clips off and then get you a T15. And there's 2 torque screws on the hood latch to pull this cover off to get this bezel off out of the way. And that's the first step we're going to do. I believe the next step is removing the support bars, and I'll let you know what size these are. Most likely a 13 millimeter, but I'll keep you guys updated step by step. Next, we're going to remove this intake box, loosen up this clamp and this clamp that goes to the throttle body, and then you have this little line right here, which is here. You just gotta push the white tab in from the side and it slides right off. From there, I think we're gonna take these brackets off and then work on that fuse box according to the all data instructions. All data also states to disconnect the battery for safety reasons. So we'll go ahead and disconnect that and follow the procedure, just because I'm not a Chevy tech, so going along the ways on showing you guys how to do this. But we'll move this box and these brackets. Alright, so we have the negative terminal disconnected from the battery. We got those braces, cross braces off. I went ahead and removed the air box. We drained some of the coolant. So for the air box, there's a 10 millimeter on this stud right here, 2 rubber grommets in here and here, and this air duct, which you remove a clip from here and move this out of the air box. And you have to fight the air box for a little bit to get it out, all because it's sitting on this stud. But once it's out, you have all this room. Remove the cooling line off the top of the radiator fan shroud, and then I believe we may have to start taking that fuse box out. I just have to double check on the all data information, but we'll come back when it gets to that and explain everything that needs to come out. Here we got the fuse box out. These four little bolts, they're a 7 millimeter, and then this battery starter terminal that goes from the battery to the fuse box is a 13 mil. Once you loosen all these 4 7 millimeter bolts, there's 4 retaining clips on the sides, and then once you pull it out, it'll look like this. And then I gotta go double check the all data, but I believe I gotta remove this bottom half of the fuse box also to get access to these oil cooler lines, and then we'll get the radiator out and start working on the oil cooler lines along the side of the block. So we do have to remove these bottom half of the plugs. These plugs also have tabs on the sides that you have to unclip, pull these out, and then there's a 10 mil there to end up removing the rest of this box to get access to that. Once we get access to that, we'll get access to all the oil cooler lines and taking the radiator out. Now that we got that box over there removed, I went in ahead and got the fan shroud removed, but before all that, you have to move all the harness and all the little cooler lines that are attached to the fan shroud, and then there should be 2 10 millimeters on each side that hold it in, one here and then one here, and vice versa on the opposite end. And then I'll attach a picture after this video, but these connectors, you have to slide this out to the right to let it go from the fans, and they unplug easy. Now I gotta remove the lower radiator hose over there, and then we should be able to pull the radiator out, and then from there we'll get to the oil cooler lines and unbolt it from the block and wraps around, I think, by the oil pan and stuff like that. All right, now that we got the radiator out, the thing that will fight you if you don't know is 2 10 millimeters. You'll have one on this transmission cooler off to the side. I'm not sure if I can get a good video. Yeah, right there, that's 1 10 millimeter. And then down at the bottom, you can't really see it, but here off to the side, you'll have another 10 mil, and those 2 10 mils hold that condenser and the transmission cooler attached to the radiator, and it will fight you if you don't know. And once you get it out, now you have access to the oil cooler lines that we are replacing. Now I'm about to get on the ground and follow the oil cooler line underneath and unbolt it from the block. As you can see, it goes down alongside the block, and I'll show you that once I get underneath and explain what bolts we need to take off. But here we have the new one. This right here looks like a 10 mil is what's bolted to the block, and then we have a sensor. Once you unbolt this from the block, just pull it off, replace it, and then go in reverse order. Alright guys, so there's the old line. I finally got it out. I didn't record underneath. It was fighting me to unplug it from the oil cooler itself like that, and then was fighting to get the line out. But when you get to the front, there's gonna be a stud about there. There's a 10 mil. You take that stud out, and it looks like this. This little stud itself will prevent you from taking that line out completely. Now I'm getting ready to put the new one in, and go backwards on putting everything back in place and have the truck running for tomorrow. If any questions, hit me up in the comments. I'll try to explain more in the comments if you have any questions. But in the meantime, now I'm about to go in reverse order, installing the new line, routing it through, bolting it up, and putting everything back in place, radiator and everything.